Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Let's Talk Innovation series with the KTN and the DTG. My name is Carrie Wootten, for those of you that don't know me, and I work for the Knowledge Transfer Network. And I'm absolutely delighted to be talking to Rose Hulse, who is the CEO and founder of ScreenHits today. So before we chat to Rose, I've got so many questions for Rose, but before we do, and we kind of get into that conversation, I'd just like to show a little video about ScreenHits and the product that Rose is about to launch, and we can have a chat to her about that after that. So here's the VT.
Another night in. What are you going to watch tonight? Which app? What channel? Can't decide? Well, you don't have to, because now you can find everything you want in one app. Meet ScreenHits TV, a brand new streaming platform that lets you bundle all of your TV apps and channels into one place. Netflix, yep, Disney Plus, Stars, and live TV, of course. Simple, streamlined, get ScreenHits TV. Everything you want to watch in one place.
Amazing, Rose. I can't tell you how much I think this app's needed. It's really exciting. So you gave us a little insight, said the ScreenHits is going to be launched soon, right?
Yeah, it's going to be launched in December this month. So in the next few weeks. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. So where did the idea for ScreenHits come from? How did you kind of start on this journey, kind of getting that product up and running?
Yeah, well, so ScreenHits originally was a business-to-business marketplace platform. And about a few years ago, we started to notice a lot of our customers were not using it more from a B2B side. They were taking their international rights back and keeping it all in-house so they can create their own direct-to-consumer platforms, such as Disney Plus, Peacock with NBC, HBO Max with Warner. And we had this amazing technology, which in a sense was a super aggregator of just content available all over the world. And we thought, how unique would it be to present this unique interface to consumers? Because it's just a very nice and easy way to see what's available across all different apps. So that's how it came about.
Yeah, amazing. And I know that you've been on quite a journey with getting this product up and running, and it's brilliant to see and hear that we're going to be able to get our hands on it soon. Along this journey, you've had to, I know without a doubt, you've had to be innovative and entrepreneurial and all hands on deck to kind of get everything up and running. What skill sets do you think you need to be truly innovative? What kind of mindset do you need to have to kind of get something like ScreenHits up and running and launch to market?
Yeah, I think perseverance is a very key thing. It's something that I've always had, even when things seemed quite impossible or unattainable. It goes back to my figure skating days. You know, you fall down, you literally get back up and try the double axel again. And that's just really been with me. And so
that's a great analogy.
And the amount of bruises I had, but I kept getting back up every time. And eventually I got it. And the feeling of actually achieving that is just great. And I apply it to every area in my life, in every single area. And with a business, there's so many bumps in the road where things happen. You have an investor lined up, then you lose that investor. You have a partner lined up, and that partner's like, oh, actually, we can't move forward. You have people wanting to wait to see how you do in the markets. You have all these challenges, and you have to overcome them. And every block is a reason to just, hang up your coat and say, this isn't going to happen. But if you can persevere through that and you realize, okay, well, there's obviously a way around that, then you can obtain anything. So I think that is like the number one key skill set that you have to have. Second, I think that you just need to, I'm not a very detailed oriented person, but I think it's important to know how to have people around you that can benefit your weaknesses. And I think to acknowledge where your strengths and your weaknesses are. And it's something that they always ask when you interview for jobs. Well, what are your weaknesses? And no one ever wants to really say what they are. But I think it's important to look in the mirror and ask yourself, really where do I lack? And then you get people in that are smarter than you and better than you to actually help you to grow in that area.
Yeah, that's so true. Having good people around you who you know and trust and really know their stuff. So the other thing I wanted to chat to you today is obviously COVID. I mean, we're definitely been the word of 2020, hasn't it? And I imagine your plans at the start of January were kind of pretty laid out to get the product to launch. So how has COVID impacted your work and your business strategy for this year? And also, I suppose, around the innovation that's laid behind ScreenHits and I suppose the deadlines that you were working to get the product to market.
Yeah, well, I mean, COVID played a very interesting role in our business. I mean, our entire tech team is in-house, so we all are able to work, continue to work, and no matter the environment that we're in. However, when it came time to launch, we did feel that it was not the right time to launch back in May. The world was going through a massive pandemic. And while the streaming world is booming, because people are actually stuck in their houses, they can't really go out, they want to watch things on TV, they have time to discover great box sets, we felt that it was more important to not take any focus away from what was going on in the world and what the situation is that everybody was dealing with. So we chose to postpone. And, that was a difficult decision because, one, it meant that other competitors could kind of come up because it was like a false start. We were like ready to go. We had our ads in the Daily Mail and everything. We're ready to go. And then it's like, you know what? What's more important right now? And it's actually, the health and the safety of our customers and our team. So that was one of the challenges. But in the same time, I think it's just given us time to really understand the market a bit better, to work with our partners in a different way, and to come out with even greater bundles and savings for our customers.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been a really hard decision to make because of all of your partners that you're working with, all of the team that are kind of invested in getting that product to life. How did you personally manage that decision? Because that's such a big decision to make. How did you cope with that? The kind of pressure, I suppose, the big pressure, particularly as you say, in this kind of global pandemic, when there are pressures coming at everybody from all sorts of angles. You've got this amazing product to launch. How did you cope with that process? Because I think that's really critical in terms of innovation and the way that we kind of manage innovation.
Yes, no, I think that, I think at first it was the team. Can you hear me, by the way? Because I think there is a bit of a delay.
I can. Yeah, I can hear you. There is a little bit of delay, but I can hear you, Rose, so carry on, yeah.
Okay, great. I think that the most important thing is to just always be communicative and transparent with the team, explaining the reasons you're making those decisions and pointing to the positive. I always look at the glass half full. And so, when you're launching a new product and a new app and you have these deadlines, the pressure is on and you have to make decisions. Okay, well, let's launch with this. And then we will add different versions and different features at a later date. And so I told the team, we can use this as a time to really add more features for the customer. So when we go live to market, instead of going live with our initial version 1.0, they're going to get version 5.0 because we have more time and people can double check and triple check their work. And so we don't just have a product that's great. We have a standing product. And I think that the team took that on board and they saw that as an opportunity to even add more to what they were giving. I mean, the investors, it's a different conversation because the investors were just like, what?
How did you manage that conversation with the investors? Because I imagine that's a pretty tricky one to have, right?
That was, I explained to them. It is a tricky one because, the more that while you're not out in market and you're not generating revenue and you're burning through, and everything's getting pushed back, that is a reflection on your burn rate and your cash flow. But our investors have been amazing over the past 8 years. A lot of our investors that came in even for this round have been with us, and they understood that, what's more important is our customers. We developed a customer-centric product. And it's not really fulfilling what we want to do, which is making people's lives easier and providing something by trying to take advantage of a bad situation. And they respected that and they honored that. And they did give us a deadline, though. They go, well, you can't wait until it's completely gone. You have to eventually launch. So we're launching now, but I'm happy to know that we're launching after a vaccine has been found. So.
Yeah, that's good news, isn't it? We're feeling positive at the moment with that news, particularly today. That's awesome. That's really interesting. That that process and that conversation that you've had with your investors. And I suppose that's the strength of the relationship that you have with them as well, because they fundamentally believe in the product and the values that you put behind that as the founder of ScreenHits, and then also all of your staff. So having been through that process this year, what advice do you give to other people who are kind of trying to build their businesses in kind of this post-COVID world, or this hopefully coming to post-COVID world? Is there any advice that we'd give to them, kind of having been through this kind of really roller coaster ride of a year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just so difficult, because in some situations you have to look at, if companies don't have that comfort of that extra cash to get them through turbulent times, and they're not able to take advantage of some of the government funding that's been put out there to help companies during this time, then they have to make difficult decisions. They may have to launch, for example. And so I think it's looking, do you need to take an extra investment to get you through this time? Do you need to raise funds? Do you need to look for government grants? What do you need to do to be financially sound to carry you through? Looking at different ways to increase the revenues if your revenues have been cut because of COVID. Some businesses are doing great, like Amazon and Deliveroo. I mean, they have taken advantage, I guess, in a way, of the circumstances, and they have done extremely well. So I think it's also looking at, can your business help to ease people's lives during this COVID situation, to make their lives easier, and providing that. So that's like one way to kind of look at it. And then maybe there's a pivot in there. Maybe there's a different focus because you're addressing the changes in the economy and what's happening with people. Another thing is maybe making hard decisions where you're looking and saying, in this new post-COVID world, our product no longer works. People just will not be doing things the same ways that they've done it before, because they've been traumatized by everything we've gone through over the past, 18 months or 12 months. They may not want to, go to similar, extracurricular activities, or to places where kids and families where there's so much, like they may not want to go on a cruise, for example. So if you're in the cruise line industry, how is that going to affect? And then you have to readjust. Do you minimize the amount of cruises that you have per year? How do you make it work? So I think that there's going to be a lot of hard conversations. I think a lot of new businesses are going to come out of COVID, and anyone who's in this space, they should really look at, this is an interesting time to maybe pivot and address what's going on. And then also maybe look at what's not working anymore and to cut the dead weight.
Yeah, I think that's really important, isn't it, to actually really analyse where you can have a positive impact and where you can really drive some change and actually, support the new COVID world that we're all living in. Well, so moving on slightly from kind of, I suppose, a business angle onto you more personally. You've had an amazing career, and I was just wondering, how do you personally overcome challenges? How do you react to when those really challenging moments, maybe with the investors earlier this year or other situations throughout your career? How do you really overcome them, and what process do you go through to kind of get through those really difficult situations?
Well, the way my mind works, I would say, and I'm just thinking back to something that happened many, many years ago before I even started my career. There was something that I really wanted, and I didn't get it. And I felt that I should get it. For whatever reason, I worked hard enough. I did what I was supposed to. I should have had it. And I challenged it. I challenged the decision all the way to the very top. And I had them to relook at everything. And then eventually, after this whole process, I did get it. So what this had taught me is that every no is not always a no. And you just have to find a way to get what you want. So even if you go to somebody and you pitch something and you really believe in it, like I never would pitch a business idea or something to someone where it doesn't really benefit them. So, I feel like in anything I do, I have to really believe in it and know that it's going to benefit the other party as well. And if I'm talking to somebody that just doesn't get it, or they don't want to work with me for whatever reason, then I figure, okay, well, they're not the right person. And I find other ways, whether it's parallel or above or even below, to try to build that. There was a situation when I was working for this music company in New York, and we were trying to get Disney and Sony, which are two huge companies, but to use this company for all the music publishing. And I was going after all global deals. So I was trying to get them across the entire board. And it was no, no, no. And that was a big ask because it's a massive deal. And so I figured, okay, well, there's got to be another way. So let me start her territory. And so I went to a territory person. I'm from a specific region, pitched them the idea. They loved it. And I went to another territory. They loved it. And then I had 5 territories that were using this product. And I went back to the global head and said, look, I have 5 of these territories paying me all this money. It's actually going to be cheaper if you do a global deal. And everybody in your company wants it. So, and that's how I got my deal.
I love that. I love that. It is about finding a different approach, isn't it? And particularly, as you say, if you really believe in it, whatever it is, whether it's a product, whether it's a passion project, whatever it happens to be, if you really fundamentally believe in it and it has value and it's going to have a positive impact, then actually finding another route is always, there's always another route. So I love that. Don't take no for a no. Always brilliant.
There's always another route.
There's always another route. I love that. It's a bit like the perseverance point as well, isn't it? They sit side by side together. For those of you that are online, please do drop any questions for Rose in the Q&A box. I'd love to hear any of your questions, and I'm sure Rose would be more than happy to answer them as well. So please do drop any questions in there for us. So just on the similar theme, Rose, have you ever had any career champions, and I suppose what difference have they made for you, whether that's mentoring, informal, formal, or teachers, or anybody that's had a real impact? Have you had anyone like that throughout your career?
I have. The one that kind of really helped me and starting my own company was a guy named John Moranis, and he was the founder of E1, which has turned into this massive big company. And I went to him and I said, I want to do this, but I'm not really sure if I'm the right fit to be a CEO, start a company. And maybe I just need a few more years under my belt. Maybe I'll save a bit more money. I will make the connections. I'll keep working in this company and I'll just wait a year. And he looked me dead in the eye and he says that you're going to want that year back. Don't wait another year because you're going to want that year back. And I thought to myself, you know what? That's just 1 year later that I would have success. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now because it was the right market. You never know who's going to pop up in the market. You don't know how the economy is going to change. And everything kind of aligned at that point, even though I wasn't ready. And it was the most powerful advice I had received because, we always talk about, well, I want to do this and I want to do that, but I'll wait next year. And what happens is that next year becomes 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. The kids are now growing up, getting married, having their own families. And we look in the mirror and we just like, my God, what happened to that time? And so there is no time to waste. And, he really helped change my perspective on life and how I make decisions.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. Yeah, that's amazing advice, isn't it? Because you're so right. I think we can all procrastinate, can't we, and delay decisions. And then it sounds like he really had a mental shift for you because actually then you then started on your journey. Like it was just that kind of one bit of advice. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? That kind of critical conversation that can then change your path. Amazing. Well, thank goodness he did that.
Yes, I value him a lot. And then I think another person that I just grew up really admiring that a lot of people don't know of is a woman named Madam C.J. Walker. And she was the first millionaire female in the United States back in like the early 1900s. And she had a beauty business. And, she was an African-American woman at the time. And to be able to amass that sort of success, to get her products in stores, for her to find a different way to sell her product with very little investment, if hardly any. And I just admire the success that she generated against so much adversity. And so I think if somebody could do that, my goodness, there is no excuse.
Yeah, God, that's an incredible story. I hadn't heard. No, wow, that's an incredible story. Well, actually, you've kind of led me on to my next question, actually, which is around diversity and being a woman of color within the tech space. Do you think there is change happening? There's been a global conversation around diversity this year. Do you see change happening? And also, if not, what more do we need to be doing within the tech space to encourage more diversity?
Yeah, I definitely think it's changing. I think that, and I think across all the boards, I see people reaching out even to me asking how can they do better? How can they find more senior management? How they can find people to be in their senior management teams that provide more diversity. I believe companies are looking. I think that they might be finding it a bit hard because the issue really is starting from the ground up, building the future leaders of tomorrow and ensuring that the people that you're supporting have a way to grow up in these companies and become in management positions. And I think what's happened is people are like, oh my gosh, we don't have diversity in our senior management. How do we do that? Well, let's just go put an ad out and find people. But there's a huge disconnect because these people were not really groomed to rise up into management positions. So that has been addressed across the board from all the major companies, which is happening right now, which I think is great. They're encouraging more people to get into coding, educating people that tech is not just about coding. There's so many different areas that sit alongside coding. I mean, I run a tech company, but I'm not sitting there typing in the code, but I work on infrastructure, the user experience. I come up with the idea and I talk to my co-founder and I say, okay, Alex, you're the coder. How do we make this happen? How do we make my idea come to life in that innovation space? And then I bring the right people on board to actually activate that innovation. And I think by educating people on all the different opportunities, you'll start to get more people involved in tech. On the investment side, I think that's it's a bit trickier because when you're dealing with billions of dollars in investment, you have a responsibility to make the best investments. And so, people of color, what they don't want is that the investment community says, okay, let's just put 40% or 30% of our investment into, companies of people of color, regardless of whether those companies are going to be successful or not. So what happens if they start doing that and then those companies fail, it's going to be, see, told you so, we tried it and it all failed. So that's not a solution. The solution is actually getting these companies and putting them into these top accelerator programs. There's a lot. I think Founders Forum, for example, I'd want to see how many, Black founders or any other people of color that they have in their accelerator program. And it's probably a very small amount, but yet they could open it up to different schools or universities and say, what idea do you have? Well, let's actually get you through the accelerator program, get you built up. So now we have a company that's investable and that could be successful and that can grow from that. And I think it's also going back and looking at companies they may have passed up in the past and saying, okay, well, why was this company not invested in? Let's actually look at this company. Let's kind of see their track record. And then you can kind of see, well, actually, this company should have been invested in. Let's fix it. And that's how I think that the industry should address that. And lastly, what Yale Business School is doing, their endowment, is they are making it a mandate that the companies they invest in, they should only invest in the best companies, no matter the color of a person's skin. But what they are saying is that that management team and the people working for that company should be diverse, and it should be reflective of people in this world. And what that does is that maybe somebody's working for a startup company or a tech company, and they're learning the ropes. They're learning how to grow. They're learning how to raise money and how to build tech and how to get their app out there, which means that maybe in the future they may create their own tech product and have those relationships. So I think that's how that should be addressed. And I think that there still is some work to be done in that area.
Yeah, as you say, it's having a multi-pronged approach, isn't it? Actually, it's like recognizing where all these decisions are being made, and as you say, like with the Yale project, making sure that there's a diversity of voices who are making those decisions, so that actually the right projects are being supported. And I totally reflect and agree with everything you said around education, inspiring younger people, and actually that there is a pathway and a career opportunity, and a great pathway and career opportunity within the tech space, and inspiring children and young people around that. Amazing. So I can see we've got a question coming in. So Yvonne says, Rose, what do you believe the most important value is when forming a team in a startup scale-up in order to develop a great solution? While big companies are very much focused on processes, do they also play a role for your daily business?
Yeah, so, okay, the first part, I think in building a team, you should always hire people that are smarter than you. That's a very old rule. It really does help. And I think that when you are looking for the team, you want to get people that are hungry for it. So people that really want to change their lives. They want to build something great. They're in it for the long haul. They're not in it to just flip it. They're not in it for a quick buck. They're not in it to put something on their CV. You want to find your partners and your founders that, just like you, want to build something great, okay? Because then you guys can weather the storm together. So I think it's very important. And what was the second part of the question again?
The second part of the question was... So while big companies are very much focused on processes, do they also play a role for your daily business? So I suppose the processes angle of how you operate.
Yes, I think, at a startup, you're moving so quickly and processes are not always there. And I think that is not great. And, as you grow, you start to realize, and it took me about 5-6 years actually, and we're still adding more processes. I am definitely against a lot of meetings. I think people meet too much. And while I think communication and transparency is important, at the beginning, you don't really have time for that. You have to just exert all of your energy to make this thing happen. But once you're up and running, to make sure that you're not upsetting your customers, your partners, you have to have strong processes in place because that is your foundation that you're building on. And if you don't have those foundations in place, you're going to tumble and you're going to fall. And you're going to spend that time building your grass hut into a clay hut, into a brick hut. So why not get that foundation right from the beginning? And I know that those companies that are funded from the beginning with VCs, those processes are forced to be there. Those other companies that are kind of bootstrapped and you kind of pull everything together, you kind of go on the fly. But there is a happy medium. Yeah. So in finance, the finance area, always processes.
Very good. I've got another question for you as well from Julia. Julia says, did you have to make deals with Amazon, Netflix, etc., so that you could have people manage their subscriptions on ScreenHits? And if so, what was it like making deals with such giants? I love that question because they are giants, right? Aren't they? So how do you go about approaching them?
Amazon's a unique one. So I first go through my Rolodex and I say, who do I know in the industry that I've known for all these years that I can go to? So I'm not just somebody off the street contacting them. So I used the in, okay? So that was the first. And then the first one was like, no. And then I was like, okay, well, then I need to go higher. But then I realized that a person who rents the house from us actually works in Amazon. So it was easy to go to that person and say, okay, how do I really get in and work with you guys? And because I had that very honest conversation, he said, well, this is what our challenges are. This is where we would be interested in working with you guys. And if you can help us to achieve these goals, then we can make something work. And so it didn't seem overwhelming at the time because I kind of narrowed my search down. So I wasn't actually going to an Amazon. I was going to a person who I knew and I could have that relationship with. But then also, for other people that are in this space, there's a lot of companies. So what an Amazon will do, or Disney or Netflix, they sometimes will outsource some of these subscription partnership deals to affiliates, okay? And then the affiliate partners will find the right publishers or distributors to kind of help them to increase their subscriptions. And so it kind of creates a layer. So they're acting as a broker. And so this helps some people that may not have that in directly to an Amazon or a Netflix. If they can go to one of these brokers, they might be able to get a deal even quicker. And so that helps.
Yeah, amazing. Rose, we don't have too much more time, but I do want to get this question in from Abina. Abina, I hope that's how I pronounce your name. So the question is, how did you actually find the confidence to go forward? Did you accept the advice from your mentor straight away, or did you have to break down some of your own barriers and self-perceptions first? That's a brilliant question.
You know what? I don't think it was so much the confidence because there was so many. Everybody has insecurity. So anyone that says they have no insecurities is not being honest. I was literally in New York in my flat at the time, and I had two choices. So it was either start this new path as a startup or take this job offer in Los Angeles, my hometown, in a top position, making a lot of money, buy that house in the Hollywood Hills, be closer to my family, and kind of settle into my life. And I had done all this in my life and traveled around the world, had these different jobs. And I just kind of had this thought, my God, that's it, right? I'm just going to move back home and keep working for someone and be happy. But something didn't feel right for me. And so this is kind of listening to your inner voice. Now, I didn't know what didn't feel right. I just knew that didn't feel right. And I didn't actually know how I was going to obtain whatever it is that I was aspiring to, that I felt that I wanted to achieve. I just knew that whatever I had been doing up to that point wasn't getting me there. And so the only way to really change that and to change the trajectory in my life was to kind of break that snow globe. So, my life was in this snow globe and I shake it up and it was great. But no matter what I did, it was always going to be this snow globe. So I just had to break it and start fresh. And by breaking it, that meant taking this this opportunity to start my own company in a completely different country and see what happened. And it completely did change my life, not just on a business level, but a personal level. For those that may know, I have 2 amazing little girls, and I married my best friend, who I never would have met in New York because he is a Anglophile for life, and he lives here, and he would never have crossed over. So my life did change. And I have this amazing company, ScreenHits, that I believe in and that will save people money and make everyone happier and less frustrated when trying to find something to watch.
Oh my goodness. And what a very positive note to finish this conversation on, because we've literally just run out of time. And what an incredible decision that was, breaking that snow globe and going, actually, I'm making this, brilliant decision and a huge decision. And actually your life, as you say, has changed fundamentally. I have so many more questions, but we've totally run out of time. Thank you so much, Rose. It's been absolutely fascinating. And I'm sure all of those insights and advice and tips, the double pixel, the perseverance, all of that is going to resonate with so many people watching and watching on catch up as well. So thank you so much for your time. Really good luck with the launch. I can't wait to get my hands on it, and stay safe. Happy Christmas, and I will speak to you soon. Thanks, Rose.
Happy Christmas. Thank you so much, Carrie. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.